Imagine this, you're standing inside a castle. The air feels tense, voices are raised, accusations fly across the room. And then, in a matter of seconds, everything breaks. Men are grabbed, dragged across the floor, pulled toward a tall window, and without hesitation, they are thrown out. What looks like a sudden burst of violence, a moment of chaos, ends up igniting one of the longest and most devastating wars in European history. A war that lasts 30 years. A war that reshapes entire nations. A war that costs millions of lives. And the terrifying part? It all begins with one act. The day everything escalated. May 23, 1618. Prague Castle. The atmosphere inside the castle is already charged with anger. Protestant nobles have gathered, not to negotiate, but to confront. Their target is clear: two Catholic governors representing the Holy Roman Emperor. For years, tensions have been rising. Promises of religious freedom had been made, but slowly, quietly, they were being taken back. Churches were restricted, rights were ignored, and trust? Completely shattered. So on this day, the nobles decide they've had enough. The confrontation turns aggressive. Words are no longer enough. The governors are seized. There is no trial, no discussion, just raw, explosive action. They are dragged across the chamber, pushed toward an open window, and then thrown out. Over 20 meters down. It sounds like a death sentence. But somehow, unbelievably, they survive. Some say they landed in a pile of manure. Others claim divine intervention. Either way, they live. But survival doesn't matter anymore, because the message has already been sent. And there is no going back. Why it happened. To understand this moment, you have to look beyond the window. Because this wasn't just about two men. This was about a continent on the edge. At the time, Europe is deeply divided, not just politically, but spiritually. The divide between Catholics and Protestants has been growing for over a century. Ever since the Reformation, the question of faith has become a question of power. Who controls religion? Who decides what people believe? And more importantly, who controls the land that comes with it? Inside the Holy Roman Empire, these tensions are at their peak. Some regions are Protestant, others are Catholic, and each side is constantly testing the limits of the other. The Defenestration of Prague isn't random. It's the breaking point. The moment where years of pressure finally explode. Because beneath the surface, Europe had already become a powder keg. All it needed was a spark. The war begins. And that spark, it ignites immediately. After the Defenestration, Bohemia doesn't back down. If anything, it becomes more defiant. The Protestant leaders rise, not just in protest, but in open rebellion. They reject the authority of the emperor completely. This is no longer about negotiation. It's about control, about survival. They begin organizing, gathering support, preparing for what they know is coming. And the emperor responds exactly how you would expect. With force. Armies are mobilized. Orders are given. And what begins as a regional conflict inside Bohemia starts spreading outward, faster than anyone can contain. Alliances begin to form. Lines are drawn. And suddenly, other powers see opportunity. Spain steps in to support Catholic interests. Sweden enters, backing the Protestant cause. France, despite being Catholic, joins against the emperor to weaken Habsburg power. Each nation has its own motives. Each one sees a chance to gain influence, land, or dominance. Because this is no longer just a religious conflict. Religion may have sparked it, but power is what fuels it now. Control over Europe itself becomes the prize. And once that shift happens, the war stops being something that can be controlled. It grows, it expands, it spirals. It takes on a life of its own, pulling more nations, more armies, more destruction into its path. What started as a single act in a castle turns into a continental catastrophe, bigger than anyone expected, and far more brutal than anyone imagined. A war without rules. This wasn't a clean war. It wasn't fought with clear lines, structured battles, or honorable limits. It was chaos. pure, uncontrolled chaos. Armies weren't always loyal to a cause. Many were mercenaries, soldiers for hire who followed whoever paid them the most. They didn't fight for faith. They didn't fight for ideology. They fought for survival and for profit. And when the money stopped coming, they didn't stop fighting. They turned on the land itself. Cities were looted without mercy. Villages were burned to the ground. Civilians weren't just caught in the middle, they became targets. Farms were destroyed, leaving entire regions without food. Famine spread quickly, weakening populations already exhausted by war. And then came disease, moving silently through starving communities, finishing what violence had started. Entire regions were left empty, not because people fled, but because they were gone. There were no real winners on the ground, no celebrations, no victories that felt complete. Just survivors, scattered, broken, and carrying scars that would last a lifetime. Because in this war, the line between soldier and civilian disappeared completely. And once that line is gone, once war enters everyday life, everything changes. 30 years of destruction. The most shocking part? It doesn't end quickly. Not in a year, not in 5, but 30. 3 entire decades of conflict, long enough for children to be born, grow up, and never experience a single day of peace. An entire generation shaped by nothing but war. In some parts of Europe, especially in what is now Germany, the impact is catastrophic. Entire towns don't just suffer, they disappear. Maps become outdated because places no longer exist. Populations drop by as much as 1/3. In some regions, even more. Infrastructure collapses. Roads become unsafe. Trade breaks down. Economies are destroyed from the ground up. And the psychological damage? Impossible to measure. Because this wasn't just a war fought on battlefields, it was a war that invaded everyday life. Fields that once grew food are turned into battlegrounds. Homes that once sheltered families are reduced to ashes. Churches, markets, entire communities, gone. Survival becomes the only goal that matters. People flee, starve, or fight just to stay alive. And by the time the war is finally nearing its end, Europe isn't just exhausted, it's broken. Physically, economically, and emotionally. The end and its consequences. Finally, in 1648, after 30 years of destruction, the war comes to an end. The Peace of Westphalia is signed. On paper, it looks like a resolution, a clean conclusion to chaos. Agreements are made, borders are recognized. Religious rights are redefined in a way that attempts to prevent future conflicts. But more importantly, something deeper changes. A new idea begins to take shape. The idea that states have sovereignty, that they can govern themselves without outside interference. It's subtle, but revolutionary. It marks the beginning of a new political order in Europe. A shift away from endless religious wars toward a system of nations. It's a turning point. A new kind of Europe starts to emerge from the ruins. But the cost? Almost unimaginable. Millions are dead. Entire regions are devastated beyond recognition. Economies are shattered, and rebuilding will take generations. Power has shifted, alliances have changed, and the balance of Europe is permanently altered. The war doesn't just end suffering, it leaves behind a completely different world. One shaped by destruction, and by the hard, painful lessons learned from it. The lesson history keeps repeating. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable, because when you step back, when you look at the bigger picture, it all started with a single moment. One act of violence. One decision made in anger. A few men thrown out of a window. At the time, it probably felt justified, necessary even. But no one in that room could have predicted what would follow. A war that would last 30 years, a continent in ruins, millions of lives lost. And that raises a question that still matters today. How often does history begin exactly like this? With something that feels small in the moment, but carries consequences far beyond what anyone can see. Because if there's one thing this story proves, it's that history doesn't always explode overnight. Sometimes, it starts with a single push. If you want more stories like this, stories that reveal how one moment can change everything, then make sure to like and subscribe.